What up, tribe? It's your boy Roger Porter from the hills above Oakland, California. I wanted to speak to you all about something that's still on my heart, man, and that is that interview yesterday of Donald Trump by 3 black women from the National Association of Black Journalists. And it was at the National Association of Black Journalists convention, national convention, which is a very big deal. So I was thinking about this all last night, and I think that there should have been a man on that panel. I'm troubled because, and not because I'm an incel or a misogynist or a misogynoirist or anything like that, but because at some point Donald Trump crossed the line with Kadia Goba, and at first they were sparring. She asked a question. She said that she was the moderator. She said that she was going to address the elephant in the room, and she called Donald Trump out for having a white supremacist at his estate and using demeaning language towards black journalists in the past and all of these things, and she was holding him to task. And he shot back, "Oh, what a I've never been asked such a nasty question ever in such a nasty way. You didn't even say hello." And so they're out the gate. I'm like, okay, they have their banter, they have their back and forth, they're sparring. Okay, cool. But then he kept bringing it up, and he kept kind of making fun of her in a way that if I were on that panel, and I'm not a journalist, I'm not saying I should have been there, but let's say if a man was on that panel, then it would have behooved a man to say, "Hey, dog," even in a playful way, like, "Okay, you made your point. You're doing a little too much now. You're doing a little too much." But that didn't happen. There was nobody there to check him. And I don't understand how that was allowed to happen when you have a man who is over 6 feet tall, who has this reputation of, for example, he called Elizabeth Warren Pocahontas, and Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida, he just ridiculed him constantly. And that's the person that he is. We know this about him. He throws his weight around. He doesn't bite his tongue. He doubles down. He is the alpha in the room, right? That means a lot to his brand and who he is as a person, and to the people that follow him. They expect him to be that. Why then would you line up 3 women to combat that? It's the National Association of Black Journalists. There are the best and the brightest journalists who are black in this space. I just don't understand why you would not have one man there, if not to check him or hold him accountable, but just to be equitable and just to have balance. It felt like it disrupted the natural order of things to me. And it wouldn't have been that bad if it were something like an isolated incident. But I'm seeing increasingly in these depictions of a black future that there is a space for queer people. There is a space for black women, but there does not seem to be a place for black men. Once again, I'm seeing this in the media space. I'm seeing this in a political space, quite specifically with Kamala Harris's campaign. right? And I'm assuming that all three of those, we can assume that all three of the panelists there are going to vote Democrat. We are at least 90% true, 90% sure that that is the case, right? And so they were talking to a political adversary, okay? But before I get more into politics, I want to talk about how this presents itself in the media space. We're all familiar with the Black Panther series from Marvel, okay? I thought the first one was really good. I saw it twice, okay? Wakanda Forever, you know the deal, billion-dollar movie, you know, wildly successful internationally, cool. The second one, I did not like. The second one I didn't like, you know, for two reasons. I don't want to digress too much, but I thought that they really got into this underwater kingdom like a lot. Like they said a lot about, like they stayed in that place for a lot. Like, why can't black people be enough? Why can't Wakanda be enough? Okay. But in that, there was a person from that kingdom, a man, a warrior from that kingdom, and he ended up, if you can recall, at one point he got into a head-up fade with a woman from Wakanda, a black woman, and they get into this knockdown, drag 'em out fight. And I remember sitting in the theater feeling horrified and helpless and disturbed by what I was seeing on the screen. I was like, why? There are still men. I know that the king died in real life and in the movie. Okay. But are there no men in Wakanda to fight this fight for her? Why is she getting into a mano-a-mano, a full-on fight with a man? And who is the target audience here? Why is this happening? In what world is this fair? Why can't the black woman be an actual woman? She has to be a warrior fighter taking on men. And whose fantasy is this? Does this represent? Who? I didn't like it for that reason, right? Why am I bringing that up? Because when the cringing that I felt, the horror that I felt when I was watching this, how I want to jump into that screen and fight that fight for that sister, that's how I felt when I watched these three women, more so the one woman, Miss Goba, go at it with this man. I'm sorry, go at it with this man, go at it with Donald Trump. I said, why is she having to fight this fade by herself? Why is there not a man there? I think the role of men in this black present and this black future is being increasingly thrown out. When it comes to the campaign of Miss Harris, people are saying that Donald Trump has got to be defeated. That's the rhetoric here in the Bay Area. Donald Trump and Project 2025 has got to be defeated, right? And I'm looking at her campaign. I'm looking at her taking the Vice President, Kamala Harris, taking photos with Meg Thee Stallion recently. And, you know, black women are on Zoom calls and supporting her massively. Okay, cool. But I look at her history as a prosecutor. She's had some poor relationships with black men. There was one black man that was found innocent of murder, that she put these murder charges on him. And I'm hearing in the barbershops, and I'm hearing on the streets, not just women, and we know this to be true, that a lot of black men are going to vote for Donald Trump. And I think that is possibly a reality, because we can't see ourselves in this future that is being created. She's done a lot to reach out to queer people. I was in Accra, Ghana, when Madam Vice President came to Ghana. She's an AKA, so she pledged in a black, she's a part of a black sorority. So there's that connection with black women there. But in terms of black men, I see a lot of outreach, right? And I'm bringing this up because if she wants to win, then that outreach needs to happen, and it has not happened yet. And so when I see these sisters fighting this fade, and I see a lack of men there, and I see a lack of outreach from Kamala Harris and her campaign to black men, it just makes me think, what is the future of black masculinity? Does the masculine black man, or just the black man who is not queer, does that person have a place in this black future? What is that place? And why is he not represented? There are 3 spaces on that panel. I don't know what happened behind the scenes. I don't know if, maybe there was supposed to be a black man, but he got sick, or maybe there's a black man, maybe. I don't know why that was the case. But in terms of representation, that was something that should not have gone down like it did. So, that's what I have to say on that. I also want to shoot out, 700 subscribers, man. I got over 700 subs now, man. Listen, tell your mama, your auntie, your uncle, your granddad, and your son about the tribe, man. We still got space in the tribe, Aqua Black Tribe. You know what it is. Let me know what you think in the comments, though. Is that something that you noticed? Is that something that you think is important as far as on that panel? And drop a comment. Peace, tribe. And another.